It all started in New York City in 1969, when I was living in a fifth-floor walk-up on Bethune Street in the West Village. The apartment was a block from the White Horse Tavern, the second oldest continuously run tavern in the city. When you walked in there back then, it sure looked old. I think the owners purposely kept it that way. Amazingly, even today the White Horse Tavern is mostly physically unchanged from its 1940s, 50s, and 60s heyday. That's when I hung out there. The White Horse opened in 1880 and was nothing more than a longshoreman's bar until the early 1940s, when it gained a reputation for being a haven for left-leaning writers, communists, and union organizers. Then in the 1950s and 60s, it became a major bohemian hangout. Just about every literary luminary in Greenwich Village hung out at the White Horse, including beat poet Allen Ginsberg, Norman Mailer, Hunter S. Thompson, James Baldwin, Anais Nin, William Styron, Jack Kerouac, who has the unique distinction of being thrown out of the tavern more times than any other person. And of course, the notorious Irish poet, Dylan Thomas, whom Bob Dylan credited for giving him his name. Dylan Thomas literally died there soon after his record-breaking whiskey binge. He guzzled his final drink at the White Horse Tavern. Musicians also hung out there, including the Clancy brothers, Bob Dylan, Jim Morrison, and Mary Travers of Peter, Paul, and Mary. Jimi Hendrix, when he was a struggling musician playing at Café Wa on McDougal Street, where he was later discovered, also went to the tavern a couple of times, mostly sitting at the end of the bar, a complete unknown, keeping to himself. The White Horse Tavern was my local hangout. The only reason I was in my apartment at that fateful day was because I was meeting a photographer friend at the White Horse. Rather than go out, I decided to stay in until my meeting. If I had gone out, I would have missed the call. As I was leaving my apartment, the phone rang. I stopped in the doorway, deciding whether to answer it or not. I was late for the meeting. That split-second decision to answer the phone changed my life, and I often ponder what my life would have been like if I had ignored it, closed the door, and left. I answered the phone on about the 12th ring. This was well before voicemail, and I didn't have an answering machine. The voice was male, young, a little icy. "Jonathan Stathakis?" he said, mispronouncing my name. "It's Stathakis. Who's this?" "We represent an artist who would like to meet you." "I'm sorry, what?" The guy on the phone was insistent. He had a purpose and wouldn't take no for an answer. "We want you to come over to our office. Now." "Now?" "Yeah, now." It was phrased like a demand, and I didn't appreciate that. "Are you kidding me?" I protested. "Really? Who's the artist?" Long pause. "I can't tell you that," he finally said. "It's sensitive information. I work for him. All I can tell you is that it will be worth your while. Besides, there could be a job in it for you.